Today we're going to explore why making a prediction or hypothesis before doing an experiment is absolutely essential to avoid bias in scientific research. Let's start by understanding how our brains work. The human brain is an incredibly powerful pattern recognition machine. Our brains are constantly looking for patterns and connections. This is usually helpful, but in science it can lead to a major problem. We're so good at finding patterns that we can see them even in completely random data. This is called apophenia, or confirmation bias. Look at these random data points. Your brain immediately starts looking for clusters, trends, or patterns, even though these points were generated completely randomly. So you might be asking, why is this pattern recognition ability a problem in scientific research? The answer is something called post hoc rationalization. This means creating an explanation after you've already seen the results. If you collect data without a pre-written hypothesis, you can almost always find some pattern and then create a story to explain it. This is called data dredging, or p-hacking. Let me give you a real-world analogy. Imagine someone claims they can predict the stock market. They say on Monday the market went up, and I predicted this because of economic indicator A. On Tuesday the market went down, and I predicted this because of indicator B. But notice, they never wrote down their predictions beforehand. Without written predictions made before the event, you can always find some reason to explain any outcome. This makes the predictions completely meaningless. This is why the scientific method requires that we write our hypothesis before conducting the experiment. This is called pre-registration. A hypothesis is a clear, testable prediction about what will happen in your experiment. It must be written before you collect any data. Now let's learn how to write a proper hypothesis. The standard format is, I expect X because Y. X is what you predict will happen. Y is your reasoning based on theory or prior evidence. This format forces you to be specific and to ground your prediction in existing knowledge. Let me show you a concrete example from chemistry. Suppose you're studying reaction rates. A bad hypothesis would be, the reaction will be faster. This is vague. Faster than what? Why? A good hypothesis would be, I expect the reaction rate to double when temperature increases from 20 to 30 degrees Celsius, because collision theory predicts that a 10-degree increase provides approximately 1.7 times more kinetic energy to molecules, and the Arrhenius equation suggests rate increases exponentially with temperature. Let's look at the theoretical foundation. The Arrhenius equation describes how reaction rate depends on temperature. K equals A times e to the negative EA over RT. Here K is the rate constant, A is the pre-exponential factor, EA is the activation energy, R is the gas constant, and T is temperature in Kelvin. You might ask, how much does the rate actually change when we increase temperature? The ratio K2 over K1 equals e to the negative E, A over R, times the quantity 1 over T2 minus 1 over T1. This tells us how much the rate changes. Let's do a numerical estimate. For a typical activation energy of 50 kilojoules per mole, going from 20 to 30 Celsius, which is 293 to 303 Kelvin, EA equals 50 kilojoules per mole, T1 equals 293 Kelvin, T2 equals 303 Kelvin. When we plug these numbers in, we get K2 over K1 approximately equals 1.9, so the rate almost doubles, which matches our hypothesis. This numerical prediction is both testable and falsifiable. If we get a very different result, we know something is wrong with our theory or our experiment. Let's look at another example from physics. Suppose you're studying pendulum motion. Here's a pendulum. You want to predict how the period depends on the length. A bad hypothesis. Longer pendulums swing slower. This is too vague. A good hypothesis. I expect the period to increase by a factor of square root of 2 when I double the length from 1 meter to 2 meters, because the period formula shows that t is proportional to the square root of L. The period t equals 2 pi times the square root of L over g, where L is length and g is gravitational acceleration. Let's make a specific numerical prediction. For L equals 1 meter, g equals 9.8 meters per second squared. T1 equals 2 pi times the square root of 1 over 9.8, which is approximately 2.01 seconds. for L equals 2 meters, T2 approximately equals 2.84 seconds. Notice that 2.84 divided by 2.01 equals 1.41, which is very close to the square root of 2. Now let's discuss why pre-written hypotheses are so powerful for interpreting results honestly. Scenario 1. Your hypothesis is confirmed. If your experimental result matches your prediction, this provides strong evidence for your theory. Scenario 2. Your hypothesis is rejected. This is actually just as valuable. It tells you something is wrong with your theory or your experimental setup. Both outcomes advance scientific knowledge. The key is that you can't change your hypothesis after seeing the data. Let me illustrate the danger of post hoc storytelling with a concrete example. Without a pre-written hypothesis, a researcher gets an unexpected result. They create a new explanation and claim they predicted this all along. This is a form of scientific fraud called hypothesizing after results are known, or HARKing. Here's a perfect analogy. Imagine an archer who shoots arrows randomly at a wall. The archer shoots arrows all over the wall with no target in mind. Then, after shooting, the archer draws a target around wherever the arrows happen to land and claims they hit the bullseye. This is exactly what happens when you create a hypothesis after seeing your data. You might ask, can't we just be honest and explore data without a hypothesis? The answer is yes, but you must label it as exploratory research, not confirmatory research. Exploratory research is valuable for generating new hypotheses. Exploratory research generates hypotheses that must then be tested in new, independent experiments. This is the proper scientific cycle. Confirmatory research tests pre-registered hypotheses. Only confirmatory research can provide strong evidence for or against a theory. This distinction is crucial because of what's called the replication crisis in science. In recent decades, researchers have found that many published scientific results fail to replicate when other scientists try to repeat the experiments. One major cause is the lack of pre-registration. Researchers would run many analyses, find something that looked interesting, and publish only that result without mentioning all the other things they tested. This relates to a statistical concept called the multiple comparisons problem. Let me explain with a simple example. If you flip a fair coin 20 times, you'll probably get at least one run of 5 heads in a row just by random chance. This doesn't mean the coin is rigged. The probability of not getting 5 heads in a row in any 20 flip sequence is about 0.53. So there's almost a 50% chance you will get 5 heads in a row by pure chance. Similarly, if you test 20 different hypotheses on the same dataset, one will probably look statistically significant just by random chance, even if none of your hypotheses are true. Pre-registration prevents this cherry picking because you must specify exactly which hypothesis you're testing before you see the data. Let me give you a step-by-step guide for writing a proper hypothesis. Step 1. Clearly state what you expect to happen. Be specific. Include numbers if possible. Step 2. Explain why you expect this based on established theory, previous research, or physical principles. Step 3. Make sure your hypothesis is testable and falsifiable. There must be a possible experimental result that would prove you wrong. Step 4. Write it down before collecting any data. Ideally, register it publicly or share it with your teacher or advisor. Let's apply this to a biology example. Suppose you're studying plant growth under different light conditions. A poor hypothesis would be, plants need light to grow. This is too vague and not quantitative. A better hypothesis, I expect plants under blue light to grow 30% taller than plants under red light over 2 weeks because chlorophyll absorbs blue light more efficiently than red light according to its absorption spectrum, and photosynthesis rate is proportional to light absorption. Notice this hypothesis is grounded in biochemical theory about chlorophyll absorption. It makes a specific, testable prediction, 30% difference in height. Now let's discuss how a pre-written hypothesis helps you interpret results honestly. Case A. Your result matches your prediction. Great, this supports your theory. But remember, one experiment is never conclusive. You need replication. Case B. Your result contradicts your prediction. This is valuable. Now you need to figure out why. Was your theory wrong? Was there an experimental error? Case C. Your result is ambiguous or in between. You need to think carefully about measurement uncertainty and statistical significance. With a pre-written hypothesis, you cannot change your prediction. You must report what you actually found. You interpret results honestly, and science advances correctly. There's also a deeper statistical reason why pre-registration matters, based on Bayesian statistics. Bayes' theorem says, the probability of hypothesis H given data D equals the probability of D given H times the prior probability of H divided by the probability of D. P of H is your prior probability, what you believed before seeing the data. If you write your hypothesis first, you're being honest about your prior beliefs. But if you choose your hypothesis H after seeing the data D, you're artificially inflating P of H. You're pretending you believe something you didn't actually believe beforehand. This leads to overconfident conclusions. Your posterior probability, P of H given D, will be much too high because you cheated on the prior. Here's one final analogy that really drives the point home. Think about how detectives solve crimes. A good detective forms a hypothesis about who committed the crime, then looks for evidence to test that hypothesis. If the evidence contradicts the hypothesis, they change their theory and follow the evidence wherever it leads. A bad detective decides who is guilty first, then only looks for evidence that confirms their belief. They ignore contradictory evidence. This confirmation bias leads to wrong conclusions and innocent people getting convicted. Scientists must be like good detectives. We form hypotheses, but we must be willing to abandon them if the evidence says otherwise. Pre-registration keeps us honest. Let me give you some practical tips for writing hypotheses in your own lab work. Tip 1. Always write your hypothesis in your lab notebook before you start the experiment. Include the date and time. Tip 2. Share your hypothesis with a classmate or teacher. This creates accountability. Tip 3. After the experiment, write a section explicitly comparing your result to your original hypothesis. Did it match? If not, why not? Tip 4. Never erase or hide your original hypothesis, even if it was completely wrong. Being wrong is part of the learning process. Tip 5. If you're doing exploratory work, clearly label it as such. Then use what you learn to form a new hypothesis for a confirmatory experiment. Let's zoom out and think about the broader implications for science as a whole. Pre-registration is becoming standard practice in many scientific fields, especially psychology, medicine, and social sciences. For example, clinical trials for new drugs must pre-register their primary outcome measures. They can't change what they're measuring after they see the results. This protects against selective reporting and publication bias, where researchers only publish the positive results and hide the negative ones. The open science movement promotes transparency at every stage of research, from pre-registration through data sharing and open access publication. Let me summarize the 3 key principles we've learned today. Principle 1. Always write your hypothesis before collecting data. Use the I expect X because Y format grounded in theory. Principle 2. Be specific and quantitative. Make numerical predictions when possible. This makes your hypothesis testable and falsifiable. Principle 3. Interpret your results honestly by explicitly comparing them to your pre-written hypothesis. Don't bend the story afterward to fit the data. Understanding this principle is crucial for your development as a scientist. It teaches intellectual honesty, which is the foundation of all good science. It develops critical thinking skills because you must think carefully about your predictions and their theoretical basis. It prepares you for real scientific research, where pre-registration and transparency are increasingly required. Here's a final thought. Science is a self-correcting process, but only if we follow these principles. Individual scientists make mistakes. We all have biases. That's human nature. But the scientific method, with its emphasis on pre-registration, replication, and peer review, protects against these individual biases. Pre-written hypotheses are a key part of this protection. They keep us honest and help science converge on truth over time. Remember, being wrong is not failure in science. In fact, being proven wrong often leads to the most important discoveries. The real failure is not being honest about what you originally predicted.